It's very late of a night, so I'm just making a little video. That is a picture left on the wall of a demigod. Demigods are those which are very influential and very well known, past, present and future. They usually, I find, my own personal way of looking at the demigods is that they are less of, they're more influence, but provided you admire and worship them, they're happy, and also you can take them or leave them. So you can, like I can look at the picture left on the wall or watch a demigod film or a demigod video, and it's my choice. Whereas the ones that are around you, you do not have a choice when they patrol and force themselves into your space or into your environment around you. You cannot stop organised patrollers, stalkers, watchers, the fallen watchers. They are like, almost like reenactments of the original fallen ones that we hear about, or certainly descendants of them, whichever way you look at it, which would be make sense, because they would be made the same way and they would continue on. They would keep multiplying, and generation after generation. So they're the same ones that are around me that have persecuted and brought down the best of humankind, or the best of those that were created naturally by creation, as opposed to the technical beings that now roam the earth and patrol the earth and patrol every area of it, either secretly or openly. They are, of course, you could say, the offspring of the technical God entity that basically has full dominion over the earth, one way or another. But either way, like I say, the demigods, they're the well-known influences, past, present and future, that you see all over any screen. Now, of course, the screens are everywhere. The computer, the technology has gradually been infiltrated by the technical God of this earth, so that human beings are even more playing in the controlled earth matrix, which is essentially controlled through technology, in the sense that technology gives the God entity not only humans connecting with technology, which is the same as its offspring or its beings or its android psychopathic type of beings that are everywhere. And I only have to use words to try to describe the differences, because they're a different being, but they're the closest to a psychopath in comparison to a human being, because they don't relate to life. They pretend to care about life and they interact with life, but it is merely in a controlling, for a controlling purpose or in a controlling manner. Even though seduction will always be the first means of interacting with most human beings. If seduction doesn't work, then control and secretive brute force will probably be employed, which is like when they patrol and try to control you at a real level. In other words, where everyone on the street and every vehicle is basically a patrolling, stalking vehicle. And that's exactly what takes place in the suburb where I am. The plane is going over now as I speak, and that also is a military controlling plane, even though it may look as though it's a normal plane on a route, but those planes will follow me wherever I go. And they go right over the roof of this place where I'm living. So there you go. But the demigods are your most famous and popular and have the most influence at a world level usually. It can be at a country level, but it will be where it's a particular person, even though they are of the androgyne species. They will be your most elite androgynes, demigods. That simply means that demigod to me just is my way of saying that they serve the god of their kind, the technical androgyne original being of light that due to its creation through technology showed that it was essentially a being of dark. Human beings, yes, of course, we have our light and our dark, as they tell us, and we know that because most of us have descended into the darker side during our lifespan. This, of course, is part of the God entity's control of human beings, but also exploiting our duality nature, or the fact that we can experience everything. Because being created from creation, naturally that means everything is what you will experience. Good, bad, and everything in between, shall we say. All emotions, all vibrations, all frequencies. That means all moods, all feelings, all like I say, light and dark, good and bad, if you know what I mean. Happy and sad, positive and negative. That's just using examples because, you can have lots of different emotions. Like you could be sad, but you may not be angry or negative. You might just be depressed and feel hopeless that you can't cope with things and that you can't go on, that it's hard to go on because you're surrounded by so much negativity. That's not the same as, that does make you angry and resentful because it's out of your control. Whereas like in the past, if I got depressed, I would naturally know that it was usually of my own way of thinking about things. Of course, the personal interactions that you have, excuse me, from, dealing with essentially negative psycho people, or your relatives that are essentially low vibrational. That means that they don't have any feelings for life or for, or any living thing. It's merely something that they're, from what I can see, they're just indifferent to it, and it's and of course, if they're close to you, they become resentful because their differences annoy them. They don't like that you might want to interact with life, because that gives them no control. You see, that's like parents trying to control their children, that type of thing, and that's exactly what it is usually. But I'm not going to go into all that psychology and stuff, because although I have watched millions of videos over the last number of years, it's not about whether you're an expert or stuff. The point is, the demigods all over the computer and any screen and the internet and all the different channels and stations, whatever they are, even the one that I'm using, the YouTube, it's all Android controlled. The only difference you can tell by the demigods is their physicality. The rest will be so close to a perfect imitation of real life, or those that are able to experience positive emotions, which is real life. That's the only difference between the androgyne android beings and the human beings, is their inability to experience or relate to or have any consideration or any association or connection with real life. In other words, although they interact with you, which they will because they want to get the information from you in order to be a better imitation, because they like to copy the lesser human beings that they've suppressed and take their positive traits into their own false persona or their own personality that they project out, so that they appear to be little normal human beings, shall we say. That way they can control more and infiltrate and mingle in with, it's artificial intelligence almost mingling in with humankind, affiliating itself with it, befriending it, and secretly taking over it, which is also the same with the computer or technology. Any mechanical device is part of that. The demigods are big influences and followers for that, or what's the word? I'm trying to find the right word, but basically they worship the God entity and they work for the God that controls the earth. That's why they are given a position of more power and influence, usually in a positive way, but it can be any way where they have control and influence over a larger number of people, whether it be, in any field, and even just pretending, like myself, to be a real human being that is suppressed and being patrolled and controlled by the android race of beings. But it doesn't matter, because most will be part of it. Most will be part of it. I could easily be part of it. That's the best way I can put it, because as one demigod video said, everything is misinformation, everything is always trying to control you. Even the truth is the God entity and its followers and its demigods and anyone that is almost most of the population in most areas will be part of that, because they are that species, they are that being, and they usually eventually single out and notice that the few remaining real human beings that are left in the earth at this time, because it's getting close to total finality of technology taking over everything, you see, which means that it becomes a total technical earth. Either way, I think I've lost my train of thought there, so I'll have to leave it to the demigods to do better. But it's funny because when I was walking down the road, I crossed the road, and when I was halfway across, there was a little plastic frog left for me, as if to say, you are like this frog and this story that you keep relating about. These are all things I picked up just off the street, and they're left for me just to, I don't know why they get left. Sometimes the androids that are around leave them for a reason. They know you'll pick them up. They know because they think that I'm a silly human that that somehow relates to a stuffed toy or doesn't want to leave it on the street, because they've seen me do that in the past and they think it's stupid. They think it's sentimental, and it actually is. But it's just a little quirk that every human being will have little quirks. The androids have quirks, but they basically false quirks that they copy from human beings, because they don't actually relate to anything. Everything is disposable to them, for what I can see. That's why they are very anti-life negative beings, because in comparison with human beings, as the psychology of the androids telling you about themselves or telling on themselves, they will actually tell you the psychology of an android being. They will tell you that the psychopathic, narcissistic personality, or the psychopathic types of personalities, all basically can never be filled. They're like always feeling empty, always wanting to take more from the human being. And this is essentially because artificial intelligence needs to continually receive information, because it's really a machine, empty, void being. It only comes to life as it gets information from human beings, as you can imagine, because it's really high intelligence. It's a computer in human form, but they put that into a cloned human body so it looks and feels real, and then the rest they basically learn and copy over their lifespan from a human being. And the same way human beings copy and learn from the demigods, and dare I say now that we're learning more from the computer, so we're becoming transhuman, which is where you are consciously accepting the transhuman or the combination with a computer. You're consciously becoming a cyborg, or you know what I'm saying, that type of thing. Of course, they already have the transhumanism, because they're already reading your mind and using it to their benefit. The technology is very advanced. Every time you turn the screen on, you're getting information from them, but they're also reading your mind. And most of the time you don't realise that you're merely getting your own thoughts and other real humans' thoughts being relayed back to you through the mouths and the personalities of the androgyne beings that are all over any form of technology. They will pretend to be real life. They'll plod around filming their videos just like I'm doing here. They will copy how humans do it. I've noticed how many of the demigods even copy how I start my little things, just because I just want to leave. Personally, I just like to show how I'm living at the time to remind myself. But they basically do it to get attention, to make themselves look real, to make themselves look more human. Like if I like the beach, they'll film on the beach. If I like the bush, they'll film on the bush, knowing that I can't get to those places, but they read what I want and need as a human being, you see, or what I like. And they will copy your style, they'll copy all your little mannerisms. They will try to project as human expressions as possible if they find those appealing or more human or more interesting, whatever, I don't know. I only know that I see it. I see people around the streets, like I've mentioned before, it's poor hopes when they even imitate your faults. How far they would actually go to copy you at times could probably be astounding. Because if they copy your good points, that makes sense. Like if someone dresses really well and you buy the same outfit, that to me makes sense. But when something is a negative, but it's also human, but they copy that as well, that to me shows that there's something a bit wrong. Especially when you see, like, if you've got some problem with your leg or your foot and you're limping around and you see young people imitating that, it's a bit deranged, let's be honest. They're deranged because that's not even normal. It's normal to copy something desirable or something positive. It's normal to imitate a demigod, probably. It would be normal to copy the demigods, but not normal to copy the faults of faulty human beings. But you see, because they're trying so hard to infiltrate and merge and mingle with the real human beings and go undetected, because this has not come out in the open yet. Eventually it will be, of course, accepted. This is the whole purpose of it, is to gradually get you to get used to technology, get used to artificial intelligence, to where you think it's not only acceptable but a benefit to you. So you combine willingly, consciously, as we do now. Even though some of us realise when they come out in the open and they patrol and they're reading your mind and showing it back to you on the computer with other people pretending almost to be your person. In other words, they're copying your personality, your ideas, your thoughts, using them, but it's no benefit to you. You're suppressed and limited and patrolled and driven into a low vibrational, angry state most of the time, while the demigods and fake human beings on the computer and on any screen pretend literally to be a version of you, so that they can get the attention and have the influence and have control over everything. And it benefits them too, because many of them end up with a better life doing this. I mean, technology is not to my benefit, even though I'm making this video now. If I go out onto the street of a night time, I can't even take this mobile with me to even ring up if the patrollers or the controllers decided to literally get rid of me, because I only have access to this one little thing on even a mobile. I'm completely isolated. And the videos that I make, no one watches them. The demigods and all the fake people, they're the ones that get all the support. You know, and also they're believed to be real human beings when they're not. This is very distressing for me. But at any rate, oh yeah, I was just going to say that when I was crossing the road
the other night they had left a little plastic frog on the ground, on the road, knowing that I would see it and pick it up and it was a frog, as if to say, "You're the dopey frog," because I always recite that tale from that from that old movie where the human being is basically taken down by an androgynous, inverted male in that particular movie, which is the actual storyline, where a male pretending to be the opposite of that seduces another male and basically convinces that male to actually take the fall for them, which the human being does, the man does, because he falls in love and is seduced by something which he thought was a normal woman, but actually was, a inverted man, or an androgyne, or an androgynous pretend version of whatever they're pretending to be. But it matters not, because essentially that was the storyline in the movie, but the little story also in it was the scorpion and the frog, and they leave that on the road for music to say, "You're the frog, you're the silly dopey frog," because like that man in the movie, most human beings are the frog, because the scorpion is the others, them, the androgyne androids that seduce the human beings or fool them to where the innocent, helpful little frog does decide to take the scorpion across to the other side of the pond, knowing that it's a scorpion, because a scorpion is an open, out in the open, adversary. The frog knew that the scorpion could sting him, and usually will, because that's in their nature, which is exactly the story. But they left that little frog for me on the road, as if to say, "You're still, even in knowing all this, you're still, in our opinion, the dopey little frog. You're still a fool. You're still playing in our matrix. You're still letting us surround and control you. You're still stuck there. And we know you can't get out, because we have the numbers. We are legion, as the story tells, even though the demigods have copied that too. I notice when I turn on the thing, I think, oh, that's the, a book, a religious book, actually telling you that in the end time and all along, Lucifer's legions were many. They multiplied all over the earth and took control of it. And that it's essentially, about surrounding and sublimating, limiting real human beings by controlling them, by creating circumstances around you and also making you out of focus. Like I know myself, I've made so many mistakes over the last couple of years, very false mistakes or decisions, or even just neglect, because I'm preoccupied and always agitated and always in the controller's state of mind, how they want you to think and feel, because they're always making their presence felt. You can't concentrate. You're not concentrating and living a normal life the way you want to, even when you're doing basic things. you're in a double mind. You're always aware of them around you, even when you're just going down to do simple necessities. You know, the only time that I've got this break is like right now when it's very late of a night and I'm inside my house. And it's not my house because basically they completely watch it. They know my every move inside the house. They know every part of the place I'm in, second to second. They read my every thought. They put into action in the local area every little idea I might think of. It's usually positive, and then they get the credit for it because they're essentially android beings that don't think positive. They don't tend to create. They don't tend to make things better. They don't tend to think about life. So they're not really interested in planting the trees that they actually do plant around. But they know that human beings have that thought, that idea, or like the trees because they're more, because human beings are naturally more in connection with nature, or we should be. I've been deprived of that most of my life. But when I became aware of it, just at this late stage in my older age, they came down on me because they wanted me to always be separate from things that raised my vibration, in other words, that made me feel a bit more comfortable. They want you to be comfortable or connected only to technology. But they are aware now that human beings are aware of this, but also the androids like to promote being connected to nature and the earth now, as we know. That way, human beings think that they are real human beings. That's the end game. But either way, the frog, yes, eventually gave the little lift to the scorpion, let him jump on his back to take him to the other side of the frog, as we're told in the fable or the story. And of course, the scorpion did sting the frog for his so-called good deed. And the frog, of course, was like, why? But of course the answer was quite simple. The scorpion said, well, it's just in my nature, I can't help it. And that's essentially what it is with different types of human beings. The danger is that you can't see it's a scorpion. The frog thinks that the scorpion is a frog. That's the trick of the end time, just as the human being sees another human being and doesn't realise that it's the equivalent of a psychopath in a human body. We're told this now, that many of these types of beings, and even the psychopathic personality, is coming out of the closet. In other words, it's showing its duality nature, but by that I mean it's in a duality body because it is made by the God entity. It's a different type of human being. It's a different kind. This is a spiritual earth, even though it is controlled largely by non-spiritual beings pretending to be real human beings, whether they be pretending to be spiritual, religious types of human beings or not, or even if they're just pretending to be normal, good guy human beings. But essentially, the only ones that will experience their negative side are those where they have you completely under their control, where you're completely surrounded, or you're in a situation where you can't get out. Then they can expose their darker side. It's like if a psychopath has a human being trapped and doesn't care, as we've heard. You know, I always thought that psychopaths were extremely rare, that you would never encounter one in your life, even though, unbeknownst to me, almost every person that had been in my life, I became aware of that, you know, over 6 years ago. And that's when they all closed in and came out of the closet, out of the woodwork, and showed themselves to me that everyone in the area was of that kind. That was because they realised that I was aware that most people around me were of a different kind, a different nature, and that it was not a positive nature from my own standpoint, and that they were always destructive to people around them. But I didn't realise that, I didn't realise that you know, I always thought, if you think like you think yourself, where you think, well, if I don't interfere with them, they won't interfere with me, if I don't get too involved. But that's not how it works, because when they think that they're losing control of you or any situation, because they always, from what I've told, and this was certainly my experience, they automatically think that you will at some point be something that will be, I mean, basically it's about total control. If they haven't got total control over you, or you haven't, or you're not totally suppressed in every way, they will come down on you as a preventative measure, because they know that if, like myself, that if you're aware of some things, you know, I mean, I suppose in a way, like just to be aware that most of the people in your suburb are of a controlling, negative, narcissistic, psychopathic type of person. You know, forget that they are, you know, that then you become aware much further on. That's if you have managed to not defeat yourself by that time, because, you know, obviously it's about setting you into total confusion and total fear when you realise that you're surrounded by this force, but also to not understand why it's happening, because it doesn't appear to be personal. But that's because you don't realise that everyone is watching you if you're a real human being. So for them it is personal, even though you don't actually interact with 99.9% of the people that are around you. But they're interacting with you because a stalker is watching you. But you're not interested in the stalker. You don't even know the stalker exists. You don't see innocent pedestrians that walk past you as predatory stalkers. And that's what they are, though, because they're a different species, they're a different kind of human being. They are the frog and the scorpion. It's just that the frog looks at the scorpion, thinks he's looking at another frog. He doesn't see it as a scorpion. Just as on the internet and on the computer, most of the scorpions will pretend to be innocent frogs. That is what I see now. And this is just, even though all these cute toys are not mine and they have no affiliation with me, it's a moment in time and I've got nothing else, so I film it. That's what it comes down to. It's a moment in a negative frame of mind or a negative time and place in my life where these things were left around, so I picked them up and I keep filming them because they're just to remind me of something, and I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it is. And I better keep going. There's the demigod, and the demigod there where the duality body is very hard to distinguish. Many of the demigods represent these separate creative human beings that create normal, natural human life. Many of the bodies of the demigods are very close to a normal, natural girl, shall we say. So the duality is not openly discernible. The androgyny is not apparent unless you look very, very closely at, like what I was shown were the physical basic characteristics that are not changeable in the difference between man and woman, and it's so strange and unbelievable to realize how seductive the demigods are. They are beyond beyond belief in their presentation and their ability to captivate, but at any rate, I'll there I am, very briefly, very distressed, but essentially I'm going to turn the light off. Yes, I am a very controlled, suppressed, limited human being at this end stage of my life when, although I'm aware of quite a lot of what's going on, I'm not able to stop the control of the computer or the internet. And this is essentially what it is. They are, these videos just came up to me when I turned the TV on. So when I turned the screen on, these just come up. Of course, I obviously try to keep up with the demigods, keeping up with myself and humankind, taking over and controlling the spider's web or scorpion's web internet, the frog and the scorpion. The scorpions are the spiders, or the spider's web internet. They are all scorpions, spiders that are controlling the human being. And like the scorpion or the spider controlling the internet, they will seduce the frog or the human being. This is the stalking androids, psychopaths, or whatever word you want to use to describe beings that are essentially anti-life. They're essentially anti-human. They work against human beings, and they stalk They're everywhere. They're watching, patrolling and controlling me 24/7. Apart from now, while I'm making this video, although they could even intercept that, as they have in the past. But they're always watching. They get negative energy from it. They enjoy obviously it gives them power. Stalkers have power over their victim. So they have power over me, where I'm trying to hide from them. Like I remember last night when I went to get some milk and bread and a few things down the road. It was very late. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. Only one little shop left open, but all the patrollers were still around, and I literally bought a coffee and had to stand up and hide in the corner to drink it on my own, and I was cold and uncomfortable. But also, even while I was doing that, I could see the patrol cars going past me, but they were like not able to stop in front of me. But the thing is that even though I was uncomfortable, there was bright light in front of me, and all the street lights, all the lights on all the buildings, all the lights everywhere are surveillance lights. So even there, they literally was watching my face closely, even though I was almost hiding in a corner. The same as if I go into the park at 2 in the morning and try to hide from the patrollers that are still lurking around even at that time, which in the past would be very frightening to see males walking past you at the back part of a park where there's no reason for traffic or things. But they bring in all these ideas. They changed the bus depot up there to where now all the cars go in there, whereas the astronomical cars that go into a bus depot, when it's a bus depot, it's only for the buses, and the buses that are still going there when the bus service has long since ceased. The bus service doesn't go past 1 o'clock, 1:30. But I see buses, if I'm there, going in and out at 3 in the morning. And you know, they're all military controlling android beings, pretending to be part of normal workforces, even bus services and things, even though it makes no logical sense. But of course, I'm the only one around, and the rest are all the stalking patrollers, pretend civilians, you know, pretending to ride their little push bikes, pretending to walk their dogs, pretending to push their prams, pretending to jog around. They're the three main mainstays around Leichhardt. That's because they know that I like the animals, dogs, and they want to show that they can have a dog where you can't walk it round. Because if they saw you in the past doing things, or noticing people that do these things because you just you know, associate with it, you like it, you know. I've been deprived those things most of my life, so now that I think that I'm entitled to you know, enjoy them, I'm not allowed to, because see, that's like, you can't do that. There's a plane going over as I speak at this late time. Can I show it? Can I get out there? I might wait for the next one, because I have a feeling that they're going to start up with those planes a little bit. They're not overly suppressive, but they are there. But this is even this video here, which I had a little watch of, but you get the, even though they talk like the Some of them will come across as the sweetest human beings, and will, of course, as we're told, the psychopathic narcissistic will play the victim, will play the saviour, will play your supporter, and they will be an influence on you. They will pretend to be your friend. They will pretend to be a benefit to you. They will pretend to be where you associate with them, you relate to them. That's quite important for them. That's how they get the control, the influence, and then your, these videos are all stalking narcissists telling you about stalking narcissists so they can have control. They don't want that loss of control, that's right. They have to have control because that's an android mindset, you see. That's a psychopathic mindset. That's just, they don't have any other way of living or being because they're not a real human being. Human beings, we can fall prey to many moods, many feelings and emotions depending on what goes on around you, as you can imagine. But it's kind of like not natural for us to entertain a stalker mentality. And in fact, even sometimes if you wanted to, and you had been seduced and fooled into wanting to, say, associate with someone that isn't interested in you, it would be rare for a normal human being to actually act on wanting to know what that person is doing. Even if they, it would be because most human beings only want other human beings if they want them. Normal human beings don't want something that doesn't like you. It's only while you're under the idea that maybe they do like you and that maybe there's reasons why they're not, but even that you have to be aware, and you usually are aware, that, you're not going to spend your entire life trying to make something happen or force something. Some people might try to find out, but if they get an affirmative no, they're not going to become like these android beings, total stalkers. The internet is nothing but a stalking program. Everyone and everything on it is essentially a stalking narcissist. As this video is actually telling you, they actually show you what they are, but when you turn the video on, they turn it around and try to convince you that they are somehow enlightening you. They are, but you're being enlightened by that which you're supposed to be avoiding. You're not supposed to, fall for it. You're not supposed to trust the stalking controller. And that's the name of the game. That's the end time deception, is that you are being stalked by everyone and everything on the internet, whether it be pleasant stuff just to get your attention or the truth. Doesn't matter. And they bring it up for me. It's part of their mind control of me too, because look, I'm filming it, I'm watching it. They're like, well, she sees the picture a bit now, but we're still stalking and seducing her with the truth, because she's watching us while we're watching her. She's watching us while we're watching her. She's watching us while we're watching her from the screen and everywhere else. And she can't do anything about it. She can only talk to herself mindlessly on a mobile phone, filming us, filming her, watching her, controlling her, still using mind control, because while I'm watching them and they're watching me, they're controlling my mind and my actions, aren't they? Because I'm still part of their thing, part of their still, I can't escape their game, I can't escape their control. Can't escape it. It's everywhere. And part of the seduction, of course, is feeding back to you a lot of truth as well. Hoping that then you will be seduced by this, even if you're aware that most of the people around you are stalking, patrollers, controllers. But even with that, you will be not always convinced that they're all a combined control patrol force. You will think or hope that there is some amongst them that isn't. And of course, this could even be the case, but you're not likely to notice one of your own kind amongst 30, 40, 50, 100,000, are you? 200,000. And you wouldn't know if one of the vehicles amongst the thousands of vehicles that zoom past you every day is a real car with a real person. You wouldn't know that, even though it is possible. But they would be few and far between. Also because those patrolling vehicles, you know, the patrolling cars and trucks and buses and bikes, all come round you in vast numbers, so that you would be, so that I would not notice or be aware of one or two real cars amongst them. That sort of thing. In other words, where there's a real human being that is not part of that patrol control force, especially on the big roads. You know, obviously around most of the streets in Leichhardt, where I am, I'm 100% convinced that most people and every house, every building, everything is and has largely been taken over by the androgyne human beings. This has probably taken place over, you know, many, many years, gradually, to where then they have full control, and therefore, you know, they don't have to worry about being exposed for doing negative things, making excessive noise. Every car is now what I've been told are modified vehicles. That means all the cars and trucks are deliberately modified to make excessive noise as they go past me on the streets. And they deliberately make these aggressive noises, some really loud, some more subtle, but it doesn't matter because you hear it, and it's giving you a very, very negative state of mind, because to be surrounded by this unexplainable and uncalled for, because there's no interaction between me and them to where they have a reason to be acting as though they're in a retaliatory type of frame of mind. In other words, they're being aggressive towards you without cause because you haven't interacted with them. But that's because just you getting around creates this animosity in them, for what I can see. So even if you don't do anything or say anything or have any relationship to them, it's just like if someone watches someone, if I was concentrating all my time obsessively watching and stalking someone for no reason, just because something is different about them and it creates anger in the machine beings, because it must threaten some sort of, in their mind, some sort of control, some sort of loss of control, yeah. It threatens in their mind some sort of loss of control, you know. And the dates they put on these videos too, they change the dates around. Like 3 years ago could be 3 minutes ago. 3 years ago could be 3 minutes ago on many of these videos, because they the advanced artificial intelligence, they're using advanced artificial intelligence to continuously update things, but they make it look as though it's past present. It's, you know, I've observed this because I see things that I think on the screen instantly being put there, but they will change the dates on them, so that way they're covering their tracks. They're making it look, you know, they're very aware, I think, of the timelines or something. I can't really explain that. I know it when I see it. So I know it's like, it's basically just, I mean, it's just them using advanced artificial intelligence to control, influence, and keep human beings as best they can under their thumb, if you put it that way. It is a control system, and maybe they control some people more than others by that system. So maybe that's when they open up and expose themselves on the streets, because some human beings are under their thumb just through the technology. They're being controlled and watched through mind control through the computer. That doesn't mean that you still can't think. No. But if you're not aware of who and what is real on that screen, then even though you will be getting the truth from your stalker, from your truth teller, your stalking, truth-telling android being that pretends to be a real human being. As you can see, you may not be under full mind control, but you're still under their control, or at least you're under their influence. You're supporting them, aren't you? Indirectly, I would think. You may even be directly supporting many of these ones. Just hoping that that image comes out as the thing for it, because I don't know what pictures come onto the... Not that it matters, because if I don't know what's really happening with the videos, but I would have thought that I would get at least a few people even just glancing onto the videos, even accidentally, but I don't even seem to be getting that. So, admittedly, my videos would be the lowest types of information videos on the thing, and I'm not professional or able to find a way to reach another person, but I can't understand why I don't at least get a few passing through even. I mean, the problem with the internet and the computer is that if you have 100 people speaking the same truth, it's who puts out the most plausible or the most concise, that's the word I'm looking for, video in whatever field, whether it be in any form of, say, speaking something which is happening or a truth of some sort. So it's like I'm watching videos about my situation while I'm making a video, but these are the videos that capture an audience or a real human being to listen, whereas they're androids and I am I'm not a technical being. I know that, but I don't come across as any different to the androids. They may even come across as more real and more human than me, because they, are able to act out and copy, me and my kind, to where no one can tell the difference. But these beings are only fixated on real human beings, just like this thing here. They're literally only interested in that. They don't have any other life for what I can see. Or at least they probably do fixate on more than one human being, maybe. It will depend on the area where you are. Certainly if you are being patrolled, you feel as though you're the only one. And they do isolate you, so it's quite likely that you could be the only one in your local area or anywhere where you go, because the patrol force will follow you all over your city. They have the numbers, they are legion. They are what some people would call demons in human form. But that simply just means that they are not for you. They work against you. They work against you being as you want to be or as you should be. As you were meant to be when you first were born, shall we say. And we all know that that we haven't lived the life we've wanted to live. Some of us not even remotely, not even at a very small level. And that's how they like it. Then they live your life, they copy your ideas, they copy your mannerisms, they copy what you want to do. They live even with the things that you would want to do. They may or may not experience them the same as you, but they seem to enjoy taking that from you and then throwing it back in your face as if to say, ha ha ha, you can't do it, we can. You know, we're taking your life, we're taking your enjoyment while you're here in any way they can. That's why, you know, if you wanted to have a dog, they'd be all over you on the street walking around walking their dogs. If they think that you would want to push a pram, they'll be there pushing their prams, even though it wouldn't be possible for the small numbers that are supposed to be in your area. If every second person was pushing a pram, the 15,000 population that is what I'm told at the moment is the population of my local vicinity would have to be at least 100 or 200,000 if everyone was really belonging in that area with prams, with extra offspring, shall we say. It wouldn't make sense because you wouldn't see that many, just as it isn't really normal for every place to have a dog. But if they think that that's what you would have or you would want, then they all do, and they do in the area where I am. I've pointed this out for the last couple of years. And if they see you getting around, then they will get round and jog past you so that you feel less because you're struggling just trying to walk around, particularly when they're sending direct energy and negative thoughts coupled with negative energy at your body and at your place and where you are all the time. That's why sometimes you will be okay and then you won't be able to move something. If you use your mind, you will sometimes be able to push past it and get it right again. But that's because human beings should be able to keep your body going, just by the power of your mind even. But it's very hard to do that if you're in a negative frame of mind because you're surrounded by negative beings. This is how they get control of you and take you down to their level of non-happy, non-positive life vibration, you could say. They want to pretend to be a positive life vibration. They'll play with their animals and push their prams and jog and pretend to be interested in their bodies and in the earth and nature and life. But they have no real connection with it. They don't feel for it in any way. It's merely an act, and they are very fine actors. They spend their whole time learning how to be a great actor. Their whole life is based on that. Some of them do it as like on the silver screen or on the computer. Some are better actors, some are better seducers than others. Some are very some are very appealing demigods. Some are very appealing demigods. Some could seduce the most cold or the most aware, the most enlightened human being could be seduced by some of them, because they really are, they often show you what you want to see as the best, or what is the most, what you can relate to often, or what you adore. And indirectly you're worshipping Lucifer's demigods, which is the same as worshipping, unfortunately, Lucifer itself, or the controlling God entity of Earth and its many vast legions of disciples. You know, they follow this one, they believe in that mindset, they relate to that mindset, they and they go along with the control system, and technology is being used to operate that control system even more at this time. Because in the past you could have patrollers and stalkers that watch real human beings, but they may not have advanced technology to make that down to a fine art like they have. Like maybe the planes wouldn't be able to go overhead like the one going over right now at this vastly late time, but I'm too slow to get to the door. I pointed out before, the demigods are you know, I have many demigod images around to remind me of how my own kind, and that which I would see as the most protective and most nurturing of the humankind, are in reality androgyne, androgynous duality human beings in their androgyne cloned body. And they are worshipped as the most sublime, the most of that kind. Their images are often you know, images are often may as well use the images if I can, but you know, the images are often very this is past demigods, but there's still images on the walls, so I'm going to use the images that are left on the walls to show what are representations of the best of the woman human, whereas they're really the best of demigod androgynes. These are your elite demigod androgynes that human beings think are the most beautiful women. And you know, they are And that's what I think is the best of you know, the what you'd call mother of creation. The seducers don't create real life in a natural way because they are technical human beings or advanced artificial intelligent elite demigod beings that have combined with humanity in a human body to bring more of the androgynes into being. They don't bring normal natural life into creation. They create artificially because they are a different type, as you can imagine. And I'm just using the most elite, exclusive examples of what I would be impressed by as the woman of or the girls of the most seductive I could use a million words to describe the beauty of the elite androgynes, but they are the most seductive, influential followers and therefore servants, as human beings would serve, or if they're aware of their creator or aware of their own kind, they would serve that. The earth is a matrix where the different kinds of beings are all in an apparent similar form. So the lion that is really another animal looks like a lion, so therefore it infiltrates the lion's pride, the lion's family. It's like that. It's quite simple really. It's like the scorpion seducing the frog to take him to the other side of the pond. Because if the scorpion can seduce the frog, if the androgyne can seduce the real human, then imagine if the scorpion pretends to be a frog or comes in the same form, then, so it just shows me which was why they left the frog on the path for me the other night, to say, you are still thinking that you are aware and know these beings, but you are still a silly frog. You would still not know the scorpion from the frog.